Hey guys, I just want to make a quick video this week about a thing that I've been seeing a lot online. I saw kind of a joke yesterday, an article laughing about how with this quarantine happening and parents staying home with their kids, and it was a joke about homeschool parents not even realizing that there's a quarantine because they'll just keep doing what they do anyway. And it was a satire piece, but it was funny. And then I heard something on the radio on the way home today from our homeschool art class. They were talking about parents having to stay home with their children, both being quarantined at home, working from home, and doing school from home, and exactly how people are trying to navigate that. And I thought that this was a great time to kind of share some encouragement and maybe a little bit of advice from people who do that every day. So we don't have anything locally around where I live where people are having to stay home with their children because the schools have closed down, but I know that is a possibility, and I know there are some places where they're either doing that right now or they have already scheduled that they're going to do that. There are some universities around here who have already stated that all classes will be held online after spring break, and so I do know that there are some schools that have decided that they're going to take this seriously as children become sick. So one thing I wanted to share just right off the bat was to be gentle with yourself. This is going to be a crazy hectic time. It's not planned, right? When you homeschool your kids, it's planned. You've planned this out, you've thought it through, you've decided to not work outside the home or only work part-time outside from home so you can homeschool your kids as your main occupation. This is not what you're doing, right? You're actually possibly bringing work home, and then you have these children who are used to this 8 to 3 schedule or 7 to 3 schedule of where they go off to school. So everyone's going to be kind of in this topsy-turvy emotional roller coaster for a while. And on top of that, there might be some fears depending on who has taught your kids what's going on or what kind of influences are in your community. Your kids might have a lot of fears and concerns, and so you've got this destabilization plus these fears coming in, and you're going to be bringing that home. And then added onto that, maybe some frustration from parents is that they're having to stay at home either from the point of view of their employer saying stay home, or from saying I have to stay home because I have to watch my children. So number one, I would say, is be gentle with yourselves. Be gentle with yourself as you try to navigate this, and be gentle with your children, because there's a lot right there under the surface that can cause a whole lot of tension. And then another thing would be to try to look at the positives. So it might be kind of crazy for a while, and you might not get all your things done, and your house might be kind of dirty. Let's just face it, your house is going to be a lot more dirty, because if you're at home all day doing things, and then on top of it you add school and work and projects, your house is going to be a little more dirty, and you're going to have to just treat yourself kindly and say that's okay. Now the other flip side of that is that you're going to have children home that can help clean. So instead of giving them just the whole afternoon off, you can definitely start delegating out chores while we're there. Now you might kind of be considered a slave master or a taskmaster by them because they're not used to doing chores at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. But that goes into the next thing, which would be to set a basic schedule. Now you don't have to go in and think, oh, I've got to time everything out and what we're going to do, but just to set a basic rhythm and try to stick to the rhythm that you've been doing previously. So if you're used to getting up at 7 and that's going well, stick to that. If your children go to bed at 8 p.m. because of, you know, your schedule, stick to that. Now how you fill in that time is pretty basic when you take out a chunk for meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which you get to enjoy together, which is beautiful. And then in between those times, you can break it up. This is some time, maybe they're doing e-learning, Maybe they're doing online school. Maybe they've just brought home a ton of homework. You can set up chunks of time. And one thing you will find is that they don't have 8 hours of work. They maybe have 2 or 3 hours of work. So there's gonna be a lot of time in between there where you can do chores around the house, when you can play board games together, when they can play games on the computer or on the Switch or whatever. But the big thing would be setting up these chunks of time. So say, for an example, if you guys are used to being out the door by 8 and your kids are happy with getting up at 7, you guys get up at 7, you do your normal morning routine, and maybe they settle down at 8 at the table and do some work. And you guys can say, all right, we're all gonna sit down at the table and we're all gonna do some of our work together, okay? And then it's gonna be a quiet time where you get your work done. Now, depending on how old your children are, that will look a little different, right? Maybe they need some help, maybe they don't need any help, maybe you're able to get a ton of work done maybe from your computer during this quiet time because your children are a little bit older. And then you can say, all right, now we're gonna take an hour break before lunch. Go do an activity. We're not gonna do screen time, but it's gonna be an activity. Get your paints out, do art, go play outside, build with Legos, right? Things like that. And then everybody's gonna come together and we're gonna have lunch. Then we're gonna clean up lunch and we're gonna do another block schedule of our work. We're gonna do another hour or 30 minutes or 2 hours, whatever, of work time. And it's gonna be a quiet work time again. And we're gonna bust out that work time. And then when you're done with your work, you have free time again. Or maybe you can go into chore time and say, this house is looking kind of crazy. Let's do some chores. Let's clean up some. Go tidy up your room. You've got the bathroom. You've got the back room. Let's pull out the broom really quick and make it a family thing. And then it's getting ready for dinner, or you might still have activities. You might still have club activities or sports activities or extracurriculars that are still going on, and you'll be doing those kinds of things. But then you can get back into your normal evening routine, which would be making dinner, getting the household kind of settled down, bedtime routine, and going to bed. But really the biggest thing would be just being kind to yourself, being gentle with yourself and the whole situation. Because in the end, there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of things that can overwhelm us, especially as children, with this routine being all mixed up, and then throwing in overwhelmed, stressed out parents that we can be in those situations. It could end up being a really rough time, or it could end up being a really good, okay, or at least okay time, because everybody kind of feels like they're a part of something. They're in this together. They're just making their way through the day with kind of this makeshift loose schedule, getting their stuff done. Now, if you are a parent of a little child and you find yourself at home, maybe a daycare is closed, maybe you can't get childcare, and you're also trying to work, it's going to be a little more difficult, right? Because you're going to have to work during naps. You're going to have to work when they're asleep. Or you are going to have to sit there and have them work beside you, but doing their own thing. Legos, painting, something that is not super messy, but they feel that connection of them being beside you, so they're not constantly bothering you, and you can get some work done. Another thing is, if you've got two parents at home and you're both stuck at home, you can definitely tag team. You can say, all right, honey, I'm gonna work from 8 to 11. You got the house. And then you clock in and clock out, and then say, now you've got from 1 to 4. You might have to do something like that, and you have got to tell the whole household, all right, my bedroom is now the office. You don't come in there unless you've knocked, and I've said it's okay. You've got to basically pretend that I am not here because I am at work. Now that only works if you have older children that are responsible enough to basically to babysit younger children, or if you have a partner at home that's taking that caregiver responsibility while you work, and then you guys can switch. So what I would say is, if you're home and you didn't choose to be, and your children are home and they didn't choose to be gentle with yourselves, be gentle with your children. Also, reach out to the homeschool community reach out to the homeschoolers in your community, because they might have some great advice for you, and they might even tag team and say, hey, we can watch some kids this time, we're going to the park at this time, and kind of break up that monotony, because people are still gonna be going to the parks, people are still gonna be going to the stores, things like that. So maybe hitch on to some of these homeschool activities that are going on. There's usually something going on every day, whether it's a library activity or a park day or an art class or a PE day somewhere, a gym and swim. And you can kind of hop in on these as well through your homeschooling community and get the kids out of the house and do some fun activities with other children that they might not know to kind of break out of just being at home all day. So definitely reach out to the community that's used to doing this type of schedule. Be gentle and kind with yourselves and set a very loose schedule, but have a very clear idea of what the times and what these blocks are. That's my advice. If you have any other advice for being quarantined at home with your children, put them in the comments below, because there are a lot of people navigating these waters who have never done it before and they're feeling really overwhelmed. And we just need to come around them and encourage them that it can be done, and that with everything else going on, this doesn't have to be another burden on their shoulders. Thanks and have a great day, guys.